Welcome to Past, Present, Future, the Full Circle podcast, where we ask questions that nobody else wants to ask, but that you want the answers to. Please subscribe, share, and drop a comment so we know you were there. Well, let's get into it then. So, Past, Present, Future, episode 22.
Yeah.
So, always excited, but here with Henrie. So, just to give you a little intro, and I'm just going to reel off the Instagram bio. So, presenter, DJ, content creator, and most importantly, fun beb.
Fun beb. Yeah, that's me. Hi. Hope you're well. I don't know, hearing that back is always a bit like, but yeah, that's me.
No, it's good to have you. And yeah, thank you so much for obviously taking the time to sit with us. We're excited for the conversation. And as we kind of discussed off camera, we're obviously going to go through the past, present, future journey, which starts in South London.
It does.
So I wanted to ask you just kind of like an overview. How was growing up in South London from your perspective?
Growing up in South London. Wow. Okay, so I'm from the Old Kent Road. So I was always in and around Peckham, Greenwich, because that's where my secondary school was. Lewisham, where I was like a street rat, literally, when I was growing up in South. Definitely character building. A lot of like, especially when I was growing up, you had like the gang beefs that were happening. I wasn't really in and around that, but obviously being from South, you're going to know people that are in and around it, but I definitely like kind of steered clear of that. But character building is literally like the number one. Like you see so many crazy things happen in South London that it's like, whew, and you laugh about it, but when you look back, it's like, is that really normal? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I still had a good time, and it's a big part of who I am, down to even how I speak, even though I don't think I'm like the most South-sounding person in the entire world. But down to how I speak, down to my character, down to who I hang around, down to the music that I listen to, down to, I don't know, the way I move my hands, I guess. And even the stereotypes that came with it, even like, do you know what I mean? Being who I was, even saying that, yeah, I don't feel like I speak like I'm that South. But when I went to uni, the stereotypes of being from South just followed me everywhere I went. So I was like, F it, let me just, do you know what I mean? I'll lean into it. I don't mind being that girl, do you know what I mean? Because it is actually who I am.
And you said character building and you're exposed to crazy things. What sorts of things are you talking about?
Even though do you know what? I don't know if this is South specific, because I'm sure that like everybody in London had very crazy stories. But I remember like being in Peckham one day, and one of like the guys that went to my primary school, we kind of stayed in contact when we was in secondary school. Primary school, secondary, yeah. And then I remember like seeing one of his friends in the street, and then my friend was like, oh, he's in PYG. And then like maybe like 2 or 3 days later, we were walking down the same street, and he's like, oh yeah, that boy died because, I don't know, he must have like got into something. So that's crazy. But then on like the flip side of it, you'd have like the things that were, I don't know, when I look back, I see them as funny, but obviously being in it probably wasn't that funny. I remember I was in year 7, and this is maybe like my first or second week of secondary school. And I just see some, like I went to an all-girls school, and the like school that was like above the hill, so just the road over, was a mixed school. Oh, this is us like Catholic girls in our little skirts, like do you know what I mean? Like in our little skirts. And I saw someone get slapped just straight on a bus. Like, this is my second week in school. Like, I was just a bit like, this is crazy. But I think, I don't know, it just allowed me to see kind of what I was in for, going to school in South and being in and around it all the time. Like, I follow my friends to Peckham, and I'd be thinking, yeah, we're going to go to the hair shop. This time she's going to go fight somebody. Do you know what I mean? And I'd just be standing there like this because I don't fight and I don't get into fights. So, yeah, like stuff, I guess stuff like that. There's things, that are like still, I look back on it with a fond memory as opposed to quite sad. But I think that when you're from like an area like I'm from, being in South or having friends like I guess I had at the time, you're always those are always gonna be a part of, do you know what I mean? The stories that you hear or come across, even if they don't affect you directly. So yeah.
You say you look back on some of the times with fond memories, implying that a lot of the times you look back on with potentially negative emotions or feel negatively towards them. So I wondered, how do you cope with those times that don't fit within the fond category?
I would say that most of my time was fond in terms of, I guess, who I was around and kind of what, again, because I was just having fun when I was growing up. Life wasn't always that easy, like on a personal scale. So let's say if I was growing up, I like had mad anxiety and like didn't really have to talk to people. And even though I had friends, I never felt like I really fit in like that much. So that side of it, yeah, I couldn't look back at that time and be like, oh, I had like the best time. But in terms of like, I guess living life, I didn't really, I don't know, because I wasn't a part of that lifestyle, it didn't affect me as much as it affected other people. Even though I'm not gonna lie, like it hit my family like this March, because my cousin, got shot in the hand when I was young. I know he got shot in that, but then I don't know. I don't really see it as like now a big deal. At the time, I knew that he was gonna be okay because he got shot in the hand. Do you know what I mean? So that's like the most that it's ever touched anybody close properly, I guess, to me. I think, you know, them dumb ones. One of my other cousins was going out with a gang member, but that was just like dumb when we were all growing up. But other than that, because I wasn't like living apart, because I wasn't living that lifestyle, I didn't really have to, do you know what I mean, worry about it too much, I guess. Yeah,
I understand. And one of the things that actually you touched upon there was something that I did want to go into. So I was reading an article, and I think you express you felt or you feel that you were shy back then, which I guess kind of correlates to what you were saying about struggling to speak to people and stuff like that. So what did that situation specifically look like?
Who was I when I was growing up? Okay, so I was someone, for a long time, I thought of myself anyway as like quite shy, not really being able to like talk to people, not really being able to, or maybe being somebody I thought that wasn't like that memorable. It's such a like crap way to like think about yourself. But I don't know, every single time I walked into a room, I was like, oh my gosh, does that person like remember who I am? Like, did I leave an impression? Like, do people like me? I think a lot of like angsters, a lot of people I guess have as growing up. But then I guess one of the only ways I got out of that was finding faith. So faith in God was like the number one thing, because it taught me like, regardless of how I see myself, God sees me in such a different light and such a different way. So why wouldn't I believe what God says about me? Do you know what I mean? As opposed to the negative that I was thinking about myself. So, and yeah, working in this kind of industry allowed me to realize that as well, that fam, I've got a whole personality. Do you know what I mean? I am who I am. And most importantly, that I don't actually ever have to do too much, where I was like focused on maybe doing a bit too much impressing before. I don't really have to like, or I don't feel like I have to do too much to impress people, because people are gonna either like who I am or not like who I am, and that's just gonna have to be that. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to ask is obviously so like shyness or being shy is like very much on the introverted spectrum, or however you want to look at it, and then your role as a presenter is obviously very extroverted. So I wondered, like, because I think within the article I was reading, you said like God sent you the message that you were supposed to do this, like this was almost like your calling. So I wondered like how you navigated the thoughts of, oh, I feel shy, but actually I really want to do this thing over here, which is like an extroverted role.
That's a really good question. I had to come to terms with whoever I am and whoever I've been made to be is enough. You know what I'm saying? It's actually enough, because if I start to overdo it now, then I'm putting on a character that I always have to like live up to, and I literally am so bad at acting, like it's terrible. So And I wouldn't want to have to like force something, because even when I force it, like it's not going to be good. You know them ones where you tell a joke and nobody's laughing because you're trying to make every person laugh. But really, like you clock that when you are yourself, and if it just comes out, people will laugh and you don't even know you've been funny. So, and that's kind of what I want. I don't want to have to try to make people laugh. I just want to say words sometimes and then people laugh. Like that's cuter to me. So, yeah, that's kind of how I toe the line. I always have to, and constantly as well, remind myself that who I am is enough. I don't have to do anything more or anything less. And if, I don't know, the trajectory of my career keeps going up with me being and staying who I am, then something must be going right. Do you know what I mean? By God's grace and mercy. So something must be happening. Do you know what I mean? It must be going well. So it's definitely that, not having to do too much and being content with who I am.
It's great advice, and I was going to say, like, what advice would you have for someone else that feels the same? But I think you've very much answered it within that sentence. So thank you, and I'm glad that we could discuss it. You said, like, it's going somewhere, like things are going somewhere, and things definitely are going somewhere. But one thing that I wanted to go into, which I think is really important, is you're incredibly good at what you do and you're very successful in your own right now. But I think it's very easy for people to review that and to say, like, it happened like that. Whereas I know from obviously doing research, you did your radio experience when you were 14, I believe. So you've been doing this level of work for in excess of 10 years. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the journey and how hard has that journey been?
There's definitely been ups and downs. I reckon, as with every journey, when I was 14, all I knew is that I wanted to work within the media industry. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I was out here emailing the Metro. Who else was I emailing? All these like big people. So this is like when you're in year 9 and you want to do work experience, and it's like, right, like who do I email? Because I don't want to work in Superdrug. I don't want to work in a school. I don't want to do any of those things because I didn't think that I would have the attention span for it. And if my brain isn't there, I'm just not like, I'm not in it whatsoever. So I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Kept emailing people, and a lot of people were coming back like, oh yeah, babe, you're too young. I was like, please, I'll sweep the floor. Like, I do not mind. I don't mind. And then I found Represent Radio, who were still are a youth-led radio station, but at the time they were in Peckham and they were very, very up and coming. And some cool people were going there. Some people that went to the Brits. This was ages ago. But yeah, some like cool people that I knew from the area, some bait people as well went there. And I wanted to be like a part of the crowd in it. So I went in for an interview. My dad drove me at 14 years old to an interview for work experience. And then I got an email saying I got it. I felt like I cried that day because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, so different. When I was there, my first ever interview was with Akala, which was huge for me at the time. I was shaking so badly.
How did it go?
Like, I mean, I think it went okay. I was really nervous. I was shaking. Akala might say different. Do you know what I mean? He might say different. This was time ago. And it was like after a festival. And yeah, I enjoyed doing it, but I realised how like nervous I really was because I was asking him the questions like this, like reading off the paper like that. It was so bad. But again, I was 14. So I kind of knew from then that I had like things to develop on when it came to my personality and like who I was. So yeah. And then after that, I just going to skip a couple of years, went to university. I went to the uni of Leeds and I studied broadcast journalism. And I realised that I do not want to be a journalist. I really don't. The world isn't for me. Even though I've done some journalistic kind of stuff after uni, I don't know. The day that I see a black woman in a blonde wig and a nose piercing on a 6 p.m. news is when I know that I'm ready to be a news anchor. Do you know what I'm saying? But until then, no. And then I graduated and I came back to Represent, and then that's kind of how that whole thing started up again. And I took myself and life a lot more seriously, and my job a lot more seriously, and kind of what I want to do more seriously as well. And then speed up, here we are.
How did you cope with the transition of moving to Leeds as someone that's always lived in?
Very good question. I don't know if you know a lot about people from London, but a lot of people don't actually leave London. Like, there's obviously some people that travel bears, but there's also some people that do not leave. And I was a person that never left. And not even just leaving London, I didn't leave South London. So it'll be like, right, you're gonna go north. Nah, what am I doing there? Like, what's up there? And you go west. What am I doing there? Well, like, what is in West London? Except for Notting Hill Carnival, of course. But this is when I was like young and naive and ignorant. So I really wanted to go to Leeds because they were the best academically in the course that I wanted to study. And I had to be a little bit more grown up about life. You can't stay in South London every day because also what's in South as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So I had to like break that barrier. And it was kind of hard when I went up there because people saw me as the one with the accent, and usually it's me seeing everybody else as the one with the accent. Like, I can spot an accent a mile away. I can tell that you're not from London. But when I was up there, everyone was like, rah, you're the one with the accent. And then you also had like the issue of racism, which it's going to happen everywhere you go, I guess. But it wasn't cute dealing with that up there because,
And what specifically did you have to deal with?
I remember one time I went to a club, and this isn't like even racism. It is, what's the word? It is colorism. Because it came from somebody else mixed race. So anyway, I went to a club, and clubs in uni are notoriously bad. I'm sure it's still the same. I don't feel like a lot has changed. Where like black guys can't even get into clubs regardless, and even if you do get into a club, you have to come in with bare girls around you, or else you just cannot get into the club. And what's worse is that the promoters are black as well. So I'm thinking, what are you doing? There was one time I came out of the club, my feet were like killing me, and I was with my housemates. And I'm the only black one. I was the only black one in my house. And I was with my housemates, and I took my heels off because I was like, no, this is long. I really want to get home. And one guy was like trying to talk to me. I was like, no, sorry. Or maybe I didn't even say anything. I was just straight faced. It's like 4 a.m. I want to get to my house. And then he goes, oh, you're just a typical black girl from London. And I was like, oh, how did we get here? How did we get here? I didn't say like 2 words to the guy. I must have just been like, oh, no, sorry, I'm not interested. And when I'm not usually that rude when I turn people away, but I'll just be like, nah, sorry, I'm not interested, sorry. Do you know what I mean? Maybe my face goes a bit like... I don't want to give, do you know what I mean, not too much energy. He's like, yeah, well, you're just a typical black girl from London. And I was like, shh, crazy. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And then my first week, this Freshers Week, I'm gonna say it's Freshers Week or maybe the week after, because I don't really remember Freshers Week that much. We had like a halls like gathering type thing, I don't know, but it was in my halls, and a couple of my friends came down from within Leeds, and then like some other people, I don't know, it was like a gathering, right? And then we were going like round asking everybody like where they were from in and around the UK, I guess. And then I obviously was the only one from South London, and I was like, yeah, I'm from South. And the guy, I think who's from Harrow, which is not even that much further out, he goes, oh, Ra, where in London? Or where in South? I say Peckham because it's like the easiest place to say, nobody really knows Old Kent Road. He was like, oh, Peckham, don't stab me. And I was like, hun, like, what? I got the grades to come to the same uni as you, and you think that I'm gonna carry on that? Be serious. And I don't even care if it's a joke. I'm not even gonna lie. That's like one of the jokes that I proper do not like about South London, and I understand that it happens, but know that I'm at uni. Do you know what I mean? I probably got better grades than you to be at this freaking uni. It's a red brick fucking uni. Listen. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not even like you have to work super hard to get into them kind of unis there. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that stuff like that like used to piss me off a lot, because why would that be the first thing you go to? Do you know what I mean? You can't just be like, right, isn't that where gigs is from? The good go to. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, stuff like that is what I used to have to go through. It didn't happen all the time, but when it did happen, it was really annoying. I remember like on my course as well, one of my lecturers would always get me mixed up with the other 2 or 3. There was only like 3 black girls on the course. Would always get our names like mixed up, and she'd always say, "Oh yeah, but I always like call my daughter a different name. Like I always get my daughters mixed up." But I'm like, babe, that's not what we're trying to say here. I've got my name, and I don't look like this other girl. But if we're being honest, we are the only 3 black girls. You're not calling me Alice, are you? Do you know what I mean? You're not getting me and Alice mixed up. And so like stuff like that used to piss me off. And then when I was doing my course, obviously this is not to put anybody off doing broadcast journalism. I'm not going to lie. It was great. Vocationally, I learned bears. See the job that my man's doing? I can do that. I can edit. I could do all sorts because of the degree. But I think no matter where you go in the world, you're just going to have to face this kind of stuff. And I think within the media industry as well, if we're being super honest, racism is a big thing. A lot of discrimination, really. So I remember like being, I was working with a major company whose name I can't say. A major company though out there, and I had to like go out on the street looking for like news stories and stuff. Or maybe the guy had a news story this is like a seasoned professional. He had a news story that he wanted me to go find people for. And he was like, oh yeah, but the people that you find, can they be black please? Or people of colour, because you're black and you can speak to them better. And I was just like, so wait, you don't even want me on this job to do something serious. You just want me because I'm black and I can speak to other black people. And again, stuff like that is just nuts. So I don't know how I dealt with it at the time. I'm sure at the time I wasn't well versed in race relations and how to deal with that kind of stuff. So I might have laughed it off. But obviously now that I look back, I'm just like, yeah, very crazy.
I think the most admirable thing about everything that you've just gone through is it seems like to me, from the way that you've explained it, that although the plethora of negative things that you've gone through, you've found not necessarily value, but you've learned things out of them and that you put into your daily life, if that makes sense. And you've benefited almost from the injustices that you've faced.
I think that's something that, unfortunately, if you're different in any way, that's just life. It's just life. You always have to like take the negatives and somehow turn them into a positive. I think that it is a shame that if you are different in any way, that somehow it's down to you to be able to make yourself fit in the world that we live in, instead of people like seeing you and accepting you for who you are. But it's the name of the game, unfortunately. Sometimes if you're black, ethnic, or any other minority, so they call us. Because there's a lot of us, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you're going to face, unfortunately, a hard time.
Quick one. Our sponsor, the 1994 Collective, are experts in PR and radio plugging. If you're an upcoming urban artist seeking airtime and to scale your audience, drop them a message and let them know we sent you. Yeah, 100%. The reason I wanted to kind of express that is I wanted to trial a new question, which I think I'm going to call the eraser question. So, but it fits very much into that and kind of like remolding negative experiences and using them as a positive within the present, which is going to be our transition point into the present. So I wanted to ask you, what was the toughest moment from your past that at the time, if you could have erased it, you would have, but today you use it within the present for your benefit?
That is a hard question. One of the toughest moments. Okay, so I would say one of the toughest moments, and I'm going to say career-wise, was when I did my first, I think, cover show at Represent. So I wasn't like fully there yet, but they knew that I wanted to be there. So I was covering some shows whilst other presenters were off. That show was a shambles. It was really bad. It was really awkward. I was getting everything wrong. I didn't know how to speak. I was fumbling over all of my words. It was just really bad. And obviously, as I left now, I was like, there were some bits that were actually okay about the show. Like, you can tell that I had future ideas if I was to go back and critique myself. Like, I had future ideas that I really wanted to work. They just didn't work. So if I wanted to go back and erase that just as like an embarrassing and cringy type feeling. You know, when you look back and it's like, oh gosh, like why did that happen? I would, but obviously I know that I can't, because like having bad shows is the reason why there are more good shows today than there are bad. And even if I mess up now, it's less of a, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna melt. It's more, yeah, I know that I've messed up and I know that I need to push through. And it also makes me, like, I guess, realize that you don't actually have to be a perfect presenter. Although there probably are people that can speak continuously for hours, eloquently, Queen's English, all of that. But I'm not one of them, and I'm very much okay with that. I'm very much okay with exactly who I am. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I needed that moment to know the kind of presenter that I wanted to be.
Perfect imperfections.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, hallelujah. Yes.
But no, it's definitely a good one. I think that it really summarises that period of your life perfectly. So speaking of presenters, let's move into the present.
Segue! Yes.
But what's going on?
What is going on? So I have a podcast with Harry Panero called Who We Be Talks. We're at Kiss FM. We're at Kiss Fresh. And I do loads of things like in and around it. Gloria.
Yeah, see, I wanted you to kind of reel off the multitude of different things that you do, because I was intrigued to understand how you balance all the different things, and I guess how you prioritise as well your favourite pieces of work, if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh, to reel it off. So, are you talking about the things that I have done or the things that I'm currently doing?
The things that you're currently doing.
So I'm currently also working with Instagram on a...
Free game?
Yes. And that's within a whole like thing they're doing called Black Perspectives. And so that's pretty cool. I'm going to be filming with Tiffany Calvert, Unknown T and Poet next week. And then I've got a brand thing that I'm doing abroad next week as well. And then... I'd have to check my calendar. I'd have to check my calendar. Well. No, genuinely, and read the briefs. I'd have to check my calendar with, everything that I'm doing. But in the near future, that is what's happening. I'm really trying to think, what else is there? I'm going to be doing Strawberries and Cream. I'm going to be hosting a stage there. And then I think, by God's grace and mercy, I'm going to be abroad again straight after that for like maybe 2 weeks, I think. And then... I don't know what's happening in and around that because jobs could crop up. But I just finished filming with... when is this going out?
3 weeks.
Okay, if this doesn't come out at that time, we might have to delete it. But I'm filming with MTV and the Open University.
Oh, amazing.
So I just filmed with them maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was in Scotland twice. And then we filmed up in North London. And then, I don't know, DJing some DJ bits, I guess. That's all I can think of at the moment. That's all I can think of.
I think that's enough, to be fair. But within that answer, actually, you've set me up again. So I think you said by God's grace.
Yeah.
So it was one of the bits that I kind of picked out when I was doing my research, and I wanted to ask you about. And I've had this sort of conversation with one other guest actually, so it's going to be interesting. But you attribute obviously a lot of your success to God. God is very much, from my perspective and my experience, and people talk about him, her, whoever it is within the present moment is always there, always present. So yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your relationship with God, and then I have like a couple of other questions just out of interest off the back of that.
My relationship with God, very interesting. So I used to go to church, I guess, with my mum when I was like young, but it was one of them ones where I was just forced to go to church, so I'd wear the dress and I'd go. But then once I got to like maybe 14, I stopped going. Like I just stopped, and then I stopped going all the way maybe up until uni. I remember being in uni feeling like, oh, like I don't really have a close relationship with God. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I'm close to God. I don't have that connection, but I still really didn't like do anything about it. And then I remember maybe after I'd graduated, I'd had like, I don't know, it just felt like kind of topsy-turvy, you know, like when you graduate, it's like, rah, where does my life go now? Especially if you don't have like a master's or you don't have a graduate job waiting for you. It's like, wow, what do I do? And then year 1 will go by, year 2 will go by, and then maybe I was like 23. I'm turning 27 next month. Time's flown by. So I was like 23, and I was like, damn, like, it felt like I was getting older because everybody else was like a little bit younger than me, like 19, 20. And it felt like I was getting older and I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to elevate myself. But then I realized that I can't do it by myself. Do you know what I mean? Because if I really could, then I would. And so, or at least by that point, I would have done it. And I tried everything at that point. And then I just remember like going on YouTube, and I think I must have like looked up a pastor or something like that. And then I was just hearing prayers that I guess I just hadn't heard in a while. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't been to church. I hadn't done any of those kinds of things. And then shout out Face in the News. I don't know. It was something about her and just who she was, who she is. I was like, oh my gosh, I would really want to come to church. Like, I really, really want to. Invited me to her church now. And then I just remember there was a time where I was in my mum's house on her balcony. I don't know, just stressing about like my next steps, like, and then I was like, God, just take the wheel, please. Because I don't know if I can do this by myself anymore. I don't have the strength to. And the perfection and imperfection is literally how I see God in my life, the perfect to my imperfect. So where I see sometimes my own mistakes or whatever, God says, no, it's absolutely like who you are is great. What I've made you to be is great. Like, obviously, build up on your faith, build up on who you, do you know what I mean? Who you are in the word, build yourself up in like those kinds of ways. And then everything else will follow. And then, yeah, that's just kind of how it's kind of felt for me. Like, if I build myself up in faith and in who God has called me to be, then I just start to see things kind of just like fall into place. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if I'm out of the way, or if I'm like a bit detached, or if I'm not, do you know what I mean? Kind of doing what I'm meant to do, it's like, so I feel far away, so I feel a bit disconnected. And then so like things start to go awry. And there was one thing actually quite important that I clocked, that if I wanted to make my own way, where I was like on the balcony and I was like, yeah, God, take the wheel. If I decided to make my own way and have my own visions and have my own plans and have my own, I don't know how to explain it, but try to spearhead my own life, I would not be where I am today. Because I had a certain vision or a plan or a something for myself at that point. And I realized now, after saying, yeah, God, do what you want to do, that God's plan is better than my own plan and will always be. always be. Because how I reckon what I see for myself is probably big, but not as big as what I'm doing now, where I was like, yeah, God, you know what? Take it away. You take it away. You do what you want to do. So, yeah, that's like a really big part for me. And like no longer planning things, no longer trying to plan my life, because no one could plan a 2-year pandemic, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? So from even stuff like that, it's a global pandemic. It's not even just us in London. It's the entire world. Not a soul could have planned for that. So I'm learning more to kind of let go. Like, I have to let go for things to just happen and fall into place. Okay,
so to put a scenario on the table, and this has stemmed from, I hate to admit it, but watching Love is Blind.
Yelling.
So there's a scenario where two of the people, they get together.
Yeah.
One is huge on faith and one is not.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, in kind of every area of your life, how would you navigate a situation in a personal relationship where the other person was adamant that God was not real, however you want to brand that sort of situation?
That is a good question. And I do work with a lot of, like, there's people everywhere and all the time that don't accept who God is and don't accept that God is real, but that will never deplete my faith in God. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as much as my faith in God will never make, well, hopefully it has some kind of impact, but let's say if it never has an impact on who they are and how they move in their life, then I don't feel like it has to have an impact on me. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm still going to believe what I believe at the end of the day, and I feel like my life is like a testament to it. Do you get it? So, yeah.
That's a good take. I was just intrigued, to be honest. Like I say, it was a situation that I saw plan out, and I was like, I wonder if this is consistent throughout.
Do you mean
everyone.
like in a relationship?
Yeah.
Oh, in a relationship? I feel like there has to be some buildable faith. Like for me, anyway, personally, like you definitely have to believe in God. I always just thought you just meant like in like a working relationship. If it's like, raw, this is the man I'm gonna make. Come on, you gotta believe. You gotta. Yeah. Yeah, I would very much like someone who, but then I'm not trying to say, even as I say that, like I need someone that's holier than thou, because there isn't anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like us as human beings, we're going to continuously make mistakes. We're going to continuously fall short. We're going to continuously let each other down. It's actually in our DNA. It's actually who we are. Do you know what I mean? We always lie. We always do bad things all the time. So I can't say that I'm looking for someone that's now holier than thou, but someone who at least knows and understands and is willing to see again the imperfections in themselves as I see the imperfection in myself, but see the perfection in God, even in how he made the entire world. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Good answer. Okay, so speaking of perfection, to piggyback off your last word, who would you say is your idol, or who would you say is perfection within the industry that you operate in? Just one person.
That's a hard question. Gosh, and I've just come out of saying that nobody's perfect, you know. I don't know. Every single time I get asked this question, I always say the same thing over and over again. I definitely don't have an idol. I definitely don't have like someone that's like, oh my gosh, like I want to be like that person, because from you have something like that, you will try to start to emulate that person, try to do what they're doing, try to walk in their footsteps, and their footsteps are not your footsteps, you know. You're your own human being. I'm my own person. So how can I now see someone and be like you can like what they do, and I always do. Fam, I rate people so highly. So the question would always have to change, because I've never seen someone out there that's like me, because there is nobody like me. Same way there's no one like you. Same way there's no one like you. And I know that's right. He actually gets... There's no one like anybody. Everyone is their individual selves. And so people that I rate, one person that I really rate that I think does their job really well, a presenter.
Yeah.
Or anyone.
You've basically answered my question inadvertently though.
Oh, that
I'd written down something which I was hoping you were going to say, which you kind of did. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, how am I not going to come and do that to myself, bro? Come on. Like you can't. Oh gosh, but especially because I'm somebody that used to all the time. Is the thief of joy, because you'll never be able to love who you are. Do you know what I mean? Who God made you to be, and everybody in who God has made them to be is lit and incredible, and you never get to truly enjoy yourself because you're out here performing somebody else's act. Do you get it? So
well, it almost went to plan. So the plan was to ask you that question, to bring up comparisons, the thief of joy, and then to say to you, without comparison, what does your ideal future look like?
I don't know. Happiness though. Is that what you mean? I'm scared. Is that what you mean? Okay, what does my future look like? I don't have any like plans other than to be joyous, be at peace, be happy, and continually have a good time. Like honestly, I'm here to smile and laugh and have a good time all the time.
How do you make sure that happens?
By not letting the things of this world bring me down. By not allowing comparison to be the thief of my joy, by not letting words of other people affect me that deeply, whether positively or negatively. Because if you're always getting positives, it's like, yeah, that's all you ever see. If you're always getting negatives, that's all you ever see, and you never have a middle ground. That way, if you take out what everybody's saying and just, it's like, oh yeah, thank you, I could do better, thank you, and accept it all in moderation, then that's good. And continuing to have fun in my work and make sure that I'm always having fun in my work. And to do that, it's understanding which like kind of jobs to pick and where I see myself fitting.
I think within that last part of your answer, potentially what you're touching upon is purpose. So for me personally, like when I'm at my happiest is when I feel like I'm aligned with completing my purpose or working towards that at least. So it kind of led me to wonder, what do you think is your purpose?
That's a hard question. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? Okay, maybe I know what my purpose is. My purpose, I take that back. I know my purpose. Okay? My purpose is to shine the light that God has given me. I think. Yeah.
In whatever format that looks like.
In whatever form that looks like. I can't even say what form that actually does look like, but in whatever form that looks like, 100%, to shine that light and be who I was called to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where does financial success rank within your, I guess, your ideal outcomes for the future?
It doesn't. It actually, do you know what? Yeah, it actually doesn't. And taken away, if there's one thing that I'm really glad that I did from the very start, even though obviously money is always is this worth the time? Is this money, like, does it equate to the time that I'm giving to this job? Even though that's kind of always a thing, can I now say that money is my be all and end all? I don't even look at my bank account. I don't even look at it. I'm actually here because I fully enjoy what I'm doing. I fully do. Me and my manager were here when we was making nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? So monetary outcomes don't factor in, because money comes and money goes, but happiness must be eternal. Do you get it?
I agree, and it's a good answer, and it's not one that everyone would voice though. So I respect it, and yeah, I'm definitely in alignment with you on that one. So future.
Yeah.
Obviously, the furthest point in the future, so to almost tie this conversation up, sadly, is death.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. Oh my gosh, okay.
We're going there.
Okay.
What's your immediate reaction? Because, well, I guess you've given it, but what is your immediate reaction?
What? I was about to be talking about, I thought you was going to be talking about like marriage and children and what you're going to be doing when you're 50. Oh my gosh, okay. Well, let's try it out.
Immediate reaction.
What, to death? I don't know. It's inevitable. That is my, I guess, immediate reaction. Like, it's something that we're all going to experience and go through. But it's kind of like, what have we done whilst we're here, I guess? Like, what kind of lives have we led? Like, who was I? Yeah. Did I fulfill my purpose?
There we go. And a message for your future self, which kind of falls in alignment with the question. What would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy. I'm not a fan of the word legacy either. I don't know. I think that I don't know. It's just something about the word, but I guess what I'd like to have done whilst I was here, regardless of how I'm remembered, because legacy is like, oh yeah, cool, how am I going to be remembered? But really, what do I actually want to fulfill whilst I'm here? Do you know what I mean? So I guess what I want to fulfill whilst I'm here is, I don't know, putting a smile on people's face, being happy, being prayerful, having a lot of faith, and enjoying life. Yeah, I
think that's the most important thing. Literally. And it seems like a great place to end. At the very end. So I wanted to extend my thanks, obviously, for your time,
so much for having me.
The wisdom, and the honesty as well. I think hopefully we've gone into some serious topics that potentially haven't been spoken on before. So
yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I think like doing like in-depth interviews like this, I never like really know what to expect. But yeah, I'm glad that I did it.
And I must ask you one last thing.
Yeah.
Who do you nominate from anyone that you've worked with before or know that you think might enjoy this experience that we could potentially talk to?
That's a very good question. You've done Mimi already. Lippy would actually be really good. He has probably a lot to say and I'd be interested to hear it.
Okay, we'll see if we can make it happen. But thank you so much.
Incredible. Thank you so much for having me.